Well, we're going to come to our first segment now, tips from the trenches, specifically self-publishing tips from the trenches. Sometimes I don't preface that. Like, we want to be very specific. This is self-publishing advice. Of course, here at the BookFunnel, the team, Kelly, Emma, and myself, we are all self-published authors, but we're also, BookFunnel support specialists, author support specialists. And so we have some tips, not just on self-publishing, but writing and all kinds of stuff. And of course, Katie, our guest today, is a legend in the self-publishing community. I'm not trying to hype you up too much here. This is actually just right, Katie. I know you might think
low.
Right. So we've got some tips for you guys today on self-publishing, on writing. Who wants to go first?
I can go first. This is specific to Scrivener. In Scrivener, you actually have a way that you can fade out full sentences or paragraphs so that you are only focusing on specific lines or paragraphs that you want to actually be focused on editing. And it actually kind of fades out everything else around it. And I'm trying to think of where I just had it open. It's under view and then text editing. So if you go to Scrivener, it's view, text editing, and then focus. And then when you're on that page and wherever your cursor is, you can do it by the line, by the sentence, or by the paragraph. So you can actually focus out just on that one line or that one paragraph. And it helps you to kind of get rid of all the rest of it and just focus on the lines you're editing.
Yeah.
So that was
I know I've used that in the past before, and it was very helpful because you're just focusing on one thing at a time. Absolutely. Emma, what do you got for us today?
Data responsive. I was trying to see if that tip would work in Scrivener on iPhone. Wait a minute.
Oh, yeah.
I haven't tried it on my phone. My Scrivener on my phone isn't working as great, but it definitely works on a desktop.
A tip from the trenches. Well, if you're like Emma, do not be like Emma and have anywhere between 20 to 40 half-done or quarter-done projects at a time. I'm not exaggerating. And you keep adding new shiny, not exaggerating. Creating project matrix. I created a project matrix. I had ChatGPT do all the technical stuff for me, but I created like the variables that my brain thinks of when it's trying to catalog what project is more important than the other. And I cataloged, I figured out how I wanted each variable to be weighed. Y'all don't have to do all this, but this is how I do it. And then I had the AI give me what are they called in Excel or Google Sheets? Formulas, that thing. That's exactly why I needed help, because I don't even know what they're called. And then, you just sort. And it thinks just like me, so I can't bullshit it. And ever since I've been using that project matrix, I've been able to focus and actually get projects done.
That's cool.
So,
yeah,
we might actually publish some books this year.
Yeah, no, that's
the goal.
I think for some authors, especially who are like very creative personality types, something like that maybe seems a little, I don't know, too artificial or too, you're just working on what you're inspired to do in the moment. But if you're trying to get stuff done, I think it kind of comes down to, like, at the end of the day,
working on what I'm inspired on in the moment is what got me 40 half-done projects, Jack.
Yeah. No, exactly. That's the point I'm trying to make. Exactly.
No, and I get it. But we have to, especially if we're really chase shiny ADHD, you have to have boundaries around that. Let yourself be creative, get inspired. I still let myself get inspired. I throw all of my inspiration into its own Scrivener project, and then I go and plug it into the matrix and let the matrix tell me when I can start working on it. And it suits me, even if it's a lie.
Well, hey, no, that might be worth a try, especially for some folks out there who are maybe in your same situation, or they've got a lot of half-done projects, and they're, because you can start to build momentum on something and then you lose it. And then that's where you're feeling that need to go work on something new because you want to feel like you're making progress on something. But the problem is if you don't push through and sometimes just have the thing tell you what to do. This is kind of related to that.
I always have 2 to 3 projects going at a time because everybody does have those moments where you need to set project A aside and let it backbrain. So I am working on 2 to 3 projects at a time, but it's just we can't work on 40 at a time.
Right. And so this to kind of piggyback off of that, this isn't my tip for this podcast, but kind of a simpler way to do this. If maybe you're like trying to decide between a couple of things, maybe a handful of different choices that you have to make. Roll a dice. Assign each project a number. Roll a dice. Everybody has D20s lying around, right? Hey, or is that just me?
Everyone.
and then see what result comes up. And then what I also do is I pay attention to how I feel when I find out what the result is.
Yeah.
And so if the result is one project comes up, I'm like, oh crap, I really didn't want to do that. Then I realize I should prioritize that lower, and I can roll again. But that's another kind of thing that I've done in the past that I think is kind of similar to that. If you want to do something a little without building a whole, project matrix and that sort of thing and being all fancy like Emma.
If anybody wants my template, just let me know. I'll give it to you. I mean,
we can add it to the show notes.
Proprietary.
Yeah, we could add it to the show notes even. So I don't know, Katie, I don't know if you want to jump in. I can go first.
I'll jump in.
Go ahead.
So a lot of people ask me how I gather data and I know what data to gather. So one of my hacks or one of my tips, especially for like efficiency and focusing on where you're making money or what you want done, is I just have an Excel spreadsheet that's always up on my Chrome, and it has a couple of tabs. And every single morning before I dive into email, before I dive into stories or anything else, I fill out all of the different spreadsheets. So I pull my Facebook ad data, I pull my sales data. There's a couple other things like some subscribers and where they're landing, what my BookFunnel downloads are doing, all that stuff. I just look at it every day because it does two things. It reminds me of my very firm goals for the year so that every decision I make is headed toward that specific goal. And then it reminds me where I'm at. So on a day-to-day basis, I can see like audience trends. And it takes me about 5 minutes, well, maybe 7, 5 to 10 minutes to like just pull the data. I just have it on routine now. Like all of I use Chrome and I have like tabs. So all of them are saved. You know what I mean? It's like all really easy. And in 10 minutes, I can get an overview of my sales and my ads data for the whole company and look at how things are going. And I think normalizing just doing that for 10 minutes at the beginning of my day, make sure it gets done every day. And then I just turn that part of my brain off and I go into writing.
Yeah.
That's helped me manage being a business owner and an author.
Right. And that's something that I bet you have to, it becomes a juggling act to keep the creative aspect of your business in the air and then that financial aspect. Not everybody, and I don't know what your team surrounding you looks like, but because I know a lot of authors are out there and they're doing everything themselves. And there are folks out there who have teams to handle that stuff. But if you're starting to come up in self-publishing, you're going to wind up being in that position at some point in time where you're going to have to do you're going to have to make all the decisions yourself, right? And you have to pay attention to the money, and you have to pay attention to the creative aspect of it. So that's a good way to, like, you have it it's something you do at the beginning of each day. You kind of maybe, I guess, getting it out of the way makes it so you don't have to like worry about it throughout the rest of the day or pay attention to it.
I think part of it is it's one more decision I don't have to make. So I just know that I wake up and I do it, and it's efficient and it's repeated every day. So nothing is lost. So there's so much time that we waste, and like, where do I even start, right? Like there's so many emails, but I don't have to ask myself where I start. I just start with the spreadsheet, and then I like have it in the back of my mind as I'm answering emails, making ad decisions, like talking to people. I'm like, well, my sales were low here, I could compensate here. You know what I mean? Like when you remove decisions and standardize a process. So this is my morning process. I make tea, I sit down, I put a stupid show in my headphones because I think better when I have noise. Emma, you and I are a lot alike. And then I just do my spreadsheet. So it's like, there's never a decision for me. And so it removes the like overwhelm of the beginning. And I think that is actually probably the best part.
Okay, yeah.
You standardize something. You don't have to decide where to begin. You don't have to decide how it starts. And so you just start the day rolling, and the mindset effect just snowballs, right? Like it's easier.
Right. And that data over time, I bet, is also pretty useful. I think you let that data, some folks, if they're not paying attention to it, you prioritize different things that really you shouldn't be prioritizing if you were actually paying attention to all of that data and checking up on it every day.
Yeah,
so
I cannot tell you the advantages I've had of being able to say, well, I know exactly how my audience acts under these circumstances because I've looked at the data every day.
Sure.
Right? Like it just pays out long run for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. So my tip for today, a little bit of a combination of things. BookFunnel has added in the last couple of years, I'm not sure exactly how old all these features are, but we've added quite a number of features that allow you to customize your landing pages. Obviously, we have things like adding custom themes to your landing pages, adding custom domains to your landing pages. And recently we added the ability for you to add custom images, which is great. We did a webinar on it last week, actually, that kind of went in depth on the whole topic. But another thing that I think people neglect a little bit is adding samples, adding a sample link to your BookFunnel landing pages, which we have a feature for that makes it really slick and easy for readers to read a sample of your book and do that before they join your mailing list, if it's an email collection page, or if it's a sales landing page before they ever purchase your book. And you have the control right there on your BookFunnel landing page to include whatever part of the book you want in that sample. And then also, you get to decide where you want them to go at the end of the sample. The custom call to action, you can link them back to the original page, or you can do something custom with it if you want to. If you haven't yet already, adding sample links to your landing pages. I think I have seen some anecdotal data. I don't have hard data, but I've seen some real anecdotal data that landing pages with those sample links do convert better. Of course, it depends on your sample. It does depend on your sample. You gotta choose that wisely. Overall, right, I think you should be trying to make your landing pages as much of an experience as possible and customizing them in that way, adding themes, adding a sample. Emma's recently, she's been doing some landing page makeovers for people, and we're going to actually upload some of those here to the channel, so you want to keep an eye out for those. We're taking authors' landing pages and doing a total revamp. And part of that process is also like adding that sample link, adding some custom images, adding, the custom theme, really making your landing page stand out. So don't ignore sample links though, because all the pretty shiny stuff, right, is those images and the custom theme and the pretty colors, but don't ignore just the simple functional tool of having that sample link there for people. That's my tip for today.
Thank you for watching. Check out these other videos from BookFunnel, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel.